channels that support Franker faces. And so even if you're not a broadcaster yourself, you'll probably come across some channels, especially speedrunners, that'll support it on their channel. And it can really add a lot to the chat. I will add emotes for absolutely anybody. It doesn't matter if you have 5 followers or 500 or 5,000. And so I encourage you to check that out. The website is frankerfaces.com or frankerfacez.com. It's slow to ride all these platforms, so I just do other cool stuff here to skip them. Right here is like a big cloud riding section with melons along the way, but I have a better plan for that section. Which you'll see in a moment. I just gotta grab these first. So. There we go. And now we jump down here. Alright. Alright, up next I think is Blark's Boiler. This is yet another very difficult stage, and another very memorable stage too, because it has the Blarks and the lava, and generally gave children a lot of trouble. It's very technical, but also very fun, and contains one of the more difficult tricks in this game, which is aptly named the Lava Skip. Shoutouts to Yoshi's Island. This level also has a lot of ground pounding, and as I mentioned before, if I ground pound right before, as I'm right above the ground, then I get no ending lag on the ground pound, which saves almost a full second every time I ground pound. It's really important to get that technique off, but it's difficult on this level because almost all the floors that you ground pound on are curved surfaces. And again, those blargs, as they're called, I can clear them without hitting them with an egg or without fluttering because I'm using a technique called tongue jumping, which is when I mash the B button while jumping, I gain significant boosts in height. Right here I'm going to take a hit on purpose in order to run through the lava and grab that heart. Which is funny because even invincibility from a super happy fruit can't allow you to do that. Alright, lava skip time. Got it. So the reason that's so difficult is the positioning and timing for all of the flutters and jumps and using your tongue. It's all really, really precise. Especially since normally when you use your tongue, there's a large window of time where you cannot flutter, so you kind of just plummet. And so everything there is very precisely positioned so that you can eat all 3 of those melons without falling into the lava. Alright. I'm very happy with that. That was a near flawless Morg spoiler. And next up is 3-4, a level called Frustration, which... that either says something about your level design or like your naming scheme, because if you feel that the best suited name for a level is Frustration, in like a Yoshi game that like children play, that's a little bit silly. Fortunately, the level is not very frustrating to speedrun. Right off the bat, there's like this auto-scroller wheel that I have to run inside and make it roll forward. Except I'm not going to do that. Alright. That was a really, really fast beginning. Because those birds, which kind of spawned in random locations, I got a really lucky one, and it allowed me to very conveniently bounce up like that. Here's going to be a really difficult egg throw, where, got it, I have to break 3 blocks with 1 egg there. Uh-oh. Alright. That wheel has an invisible wall at the top because the developers probably figured out that you can jump over it and just flutter your way to the finish. So they put an invisible wall there, but that's not stopping me. These guys are interesting. Oops, I need that heart. Come on. This minigame is interesting. I'm gonna take the bottom path here, which looks slower because it looks longer, but you have to remember that it's an illusion because this is a 2D game, and you move rightward at the same speed anyway. But speaking of that path selection, you'll notice I always select the path while in the air, so it's very confusing. Like, I jump in the air and then I just randomly land on the bottom path. It's because if you try to take the path without jumping, then Yoshi will slow down as he reaches the intersection. And so that's a little time saver. He's dead.
For anyone who's just joined in, this is Dan Salvato running Yoshi Story on the AGDQ 2014 bonus stream. We'll be playing games here for at least another day. The rough running order has been posted regularly in chat, however, it is subject to change. Try and keep it updated as much as possible.
This next level was pretty rough to route because it's a large level and there's a lot going on. There are these guys called neurons, which are these giant, like, kind of fungus-like creature things that move around in random patterns, and I try to kind of use them as little as possible because most of them are random. Oops, oh well. So right here, I'm going to hit a trigger for a melon, but I'm going to ignore that melon for now. You'll see why later. Alright, this is another race minigame, where I have to swim through the water. Except, I really hate swimming, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do this instead. So since I already hit that melon trigger, it simply appears right in front of me as I come out of that vase. And that's a much faster way of getting it. Come on. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. Alright, we're good. So this next room is pretty much all left to right. But the annoying thing is I have to collect all the coins. Which, like, I don't know. If you're like a child and you're trying to get all the melons, good luck figuring that out because this room is huge. Just grab some eggs here. And it's also very annoying to do. I really don't like the collect all the coins melons. Fortunately, there aren't too many of them. Come on. You're actually going to see me miss a couple of coins here because those are coins that appeared when I got the super happy fruit, and so they don't count toward the level's coin count. This part is really scary because if I get hurt while above the water, the game tells Yoshi to fall. But even after I touch the water, he still falls at gravity speed, as if he wasn't in the water. And if you go too down low in that water, you die. And so, if I get hurt when I'm floating above the water, I simply just fall to my death immediately. Very silly glitch, but something I have to put up with. Fortunately, that didn't happen. It came pretty close, though. The next level is the shortest level in World 5, which doesn't say much because two of these levels are water levels anyway. In this level, there are these pirate ships in the background that like to shoot bombs at you. And I would imagine that they'd be really annoying if they got in the way, but I can just despawn them like that. Because in this game, anything that goes off screen just despawns immediately. Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, if that falls on top of the watermelon, I'm in trouble. Precise throw and lick. Most of this level is pretty straightforward, I would say. Here's another race mini game, but instead of going left to right, I have to go to the top. Oops. Normally you're supposed to lick these things with your tongue, but that's slow because Yoshi flips up on top of them like that, and I do that for a couple of them when necessary, but most of them I just prefer to jump onto because it's so much faster. But they make very, very small platforms, and so it's pretty difficult to do that. Especially when you're going up and you can't see where they are. Fortunately, I did a pretty good job that time around, but I have fallen a lot of times. Now I just have to wait for a good seagull. There we go. This last melon is terrible. Since you're right next to the vase actually has a really huge landing area, and so it's really easy to accidentally land on the vase before you hit down to ground pound, and so when you go to ground pound, you go in the vase and get taken back to the beginning of the level. And that's the very last melon, so it's so frustrating when that happens. So I usually make sure to jump nice and high in ground pound. There. And next is Mecha Castle 6-1. This level has blades that can slice you to pieces, hammers that can crush you. It's a pretty nasty level. Right off the bat, I have to kind of swing this mallet. You can't see it yet, but there's a gate to the right that only opens up as I swing. These gears are a huge pain because there's a glitch where if you jump when you're standing on one of those, sometimes it just completely eats your input and you don't jump at all. And so that can very easily kill you. Especially on a gear like that where if you go in between those two gears, then you get crushed to death. I'm gonna take a hit here on purpose. Oops, I was supposed to jump past this, but... Obviously, I don't need the power hearts in the last level of the game because it's the last level and there are no more to unlock. Okay. This is the room with the hammers that can crush you. And I generally play it really safe with these because they are on a random pattern. And so I wait for it to give me the one that guarantees that I can safely cross them. Although I can waste a lot of time waiting for that. It's worth it over dying, in my opinion. Though there probably is some room for improvement on those strategies. Once they both crush down at the same time, it means I'm safe to cross. I don't feel like waiting. Okay. That one's usually not too bad, but next up there's going to be 3 in a row, and then 4 in a row. So these, I really do want to play it safe and not do that. Come on. Come on. Thank you. Oh, whoops. Nope. Come on. This is not good luck. Alright, there. That wasted more time than I would have liked, but that's alright. Again, better than dying. So in this room, you're gonna see me skip some melons. There's a very good reason for that, which you'll find out soon enough. I already skipped one melon, it's off screen, you didn't see it, but... I have 16 melons right now, and I'm keeping count. Oops. This will be my 17th melon. And if you remember, every 6 melons I eat, I get a super happy fruit. And I'm taking advantage of that, I'm skipping that one too, to make sure that I get a super happy fruit in here in order to beat this minigame. This is definitely the hardest minigame in Yoshi's Story to do perfectly, because if you so much as get hurt one single time, then it's impossible to get all 7 melons. And so I use the safe strategy where I just eat a super happy fruit so I can not get hurt here. And it almost guarantees that I complete the minigame. So you can see how close the chain chomp is to eating that melon 7, even when I perfectly completed that minigame. So it's definitely worth doing that, especially since in the end it literally wastes no time at all because, or almost 0 time, because I just get put back at the beginning of the room, and so now I can get the melons that I missed. Alright. There was one more melon to the left, but I'm not going to go over to the left to get that because it's slow. I do this instead. There we go. And Bowser number 3. Again, I have enough eggs to kill him without grabbing the super happy fruit, assuming I get all the shots, which I didn't, sadly. Doesn't matter, it wastes like several seconds. It's a funny glitch here where if I start sniffing, then that sniff carries over through this cutscene, so you can hear him sniffing right now. And that concludes lap 3, and now there are only 6 levels to go. Yay, the run's almost over, yay.
So I know you can like take different paths and different levels and whatnot. Do you think there's like a best ending to get to, or are all the endings the same?
I'm not entirely sure what you mean by ending.
Well, like, does taking a different path lead to a different canon ending? Like, does Bowser...
Oh, no, actually. They're all the same. You beat
Okay.
Bowser. Oh, you mean because there's all those different levels in World 6. Yeah, it'd be cool if there were, like, different endings. Kind of like Star Fox 64. But that is not the case. This game has not much to show as far as content goes. The beginning of this level is pretty relaxed because I have to kind of ride these platforms. Tass doesn't have to, but... Oops, it's too far left. You'll notice most of the time when I drop off a ledge, I turn around, and that's because Yoshi doesn't pivot at his center. He pivots like slightly forward, and so pivoting off a ledge makes me fall off the ledge a few frames sooner. Here's a very easy flutter minigame. Now there's a glitch with ground pound triggers, like ground pounding to uncover a melon, where if the trigger is off screen, then as long as I have the right horizontal position, then I can trigger it, and there we go. I'm really happy I got to show that off. I discovered that earlier this week during the marathon. Or I knew about the glitch, but I didn't think there was an actual use for it until I came up with that one. Need a really good tongue jump here. Got it. This room is pretty annoying. There are these clouds that blow you upward. But while you're in the airstream of the cloud, you have like no horizontal movement. So it's really hard to actually like maneuver yourself to where you need to be. And if you accidentally ground pound, which I have done, especially while aiming for that heart, you go all the way back down to the bottom, but at about 2 miles an hour, because those clouds are blowing you upward at the same time. Alright.
That pose Yoshi does at the end just kills me every time. How happy he looks.
I know! This is the happiest game ever.
Does he do a peace sign? Is it?
I think it's like the peace sign. Kind of like, you know, you see Nintendo characters do that every now and then. I also really like how, you know, normally when you beat the level, there's like, when Yoshi does the pose, there's a heart behind him with a smiley face, but if you actually eat all melons, then it shows a melon behind him, which I really like. And that's exclusive to the US version.
When you finish the run, you have to do a peace sign. Okay.
Oh, God. It's actually interesting because the Japanese version has some different melon placements, which is like the weirdest thing to change between versions, but I don't know which is faster. I just played the US one. Alright. I'm going to again mention a technique called an egg jump, which if you throw eggs while jumping or fluttering at certain intervals, then you gain height during your jump or flutter. And I'm going to use that coming up to save about 30 seconds, where normally I'd have to push a box over. I'm going to break that box, which contains a melon, and I'm going to throw 3 eggs in order to gain enough height to get up here. That was one of the first like major time savers I figured out, and when I did, I was extremely happy about that. Like, wow, this game actually does have some cool tricks, and that was very early in my routing, so that was kind of the moment where I was really set on continuing this game.